Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Ward. I am a customer success process manager with engineering. I have been in engineering for about a year and a half, a little over a year and a half now. I started at Granite almost 3 years ago within the service delivery PMO before I came over to engineering. And before I dive into a little bit about like what customer success is and what we do day to day in engineering, I wanted to address a couple things. The first is a little thought experiment. And I don't want anyone to respond to the meeting chat, but you can feel free to reach out to any of us after today, Slack, email. You can come stop by our desks. We sit right outside the NOC in Granite University in 150. But the thought experiment is a philosophical conundrum called the ship of Theseus. And basically there was a king in ancient Greece who allegedly founded the city of Athens. And long after his passing, the Athenians wanted to memorialize him by keeping up with his, keeping his ship that he used in good standing. So over time, a period of hundreds of years, every time one of the wooden planks that the ship was made out of rotted, they would replace it with a new one made out of the same material. And over some period of time, all of the planks within the ship had rotted, and it was replaced entirely with new planks. So the big question became, after all of those planks had been replaced, were the Athenians still left with what was the ship of Theseus, or was it entirely a new ship? And so I kind of want everyone to think about that, and then, like I mentioned, let us know your thoughts. If you think that it's not the same ship, at what point do you think it became a different ship? And then the second thing before I jump into what we do every day, I just wanted to address that, sometimes there's an intimidation factor with the complexity of what happens within the engineering space. A lot of it will seem alien or like a foreign language when you hear people talking about things like, candidly, Mike just gave his URL speech and he mentioned, he didn't know that before coming over to engineering. So everything that we do is there's a foundation of knowledge behind everything that we do, and none of it is fundamentally unlearnable. So we all started in a lot of different positions. I had no clue what network engineering was when I came to Granite. I went to school for chemistry and environmental science. I was going into like the soil science field, so a completely different world than engineering. And one of the keys to success that you'll find is that you don't always, and this is actually something that Adam told me before I came over to engineering, we're not expecting you to always go a mile deep into subject matter, but if you can go a mile wide and learn a lot about different things, you're going to develop a diverse toolbox for yourself that will kind of catapult you into success and will help you find your niche and what you like to do and what you enjoy doing. And having purpose behind your work and being interested in it will ultimately help you be the most successful that you can here at Granite, and that's what we like to foster within the engineering team. So what is customer success? What do we do every day? It's really a cross-functional role. We do a lot with product engineering, so say things like Mike just mentioned, we had to completely design the USPS product in and of itself. Some other things that the team has worked on is, our Flex Edge product, Grid, and in the future, with where are we going to go as we continue to develop as a technology company. Other things that we work on is a lot of project management for both internal things and external things. Some of the internal stuff that we do is going to be related to data center build-outs, Granite's point of presence, really the backbone of how we're able to support our customers with both on-net and off-net services. And then on the external facing side of project management, we do large and complex customer rollouts. So kind of what we'll get into with what we did for USPS And then kind of the bow that packages all of that together is process development and improvement. What do we need to change internally in terms of how we operate so we can, A, maintain the support for our customers in a scalable manner, and B, how do we transition that into where the industry goes in the future? So those are some pretty important aspects of the pillars that kind of build customer success process management within engineering at Granite. To be successful as a customer success process manager, you kind of have to have a wide lens focus outside of your specific function. We are consistently dealing with, almost every department within the organization, and if you're doing external stuff as well, you're dealing with multiple vendors, multiple teams within your customer's organization, things like that. So you really have to be able to kind of take all of that information between those different teams and synthesize that all together. And everyone's going to have different motives. Every team, every stakeholder, they're going to have their own motives behind what they're doing, and we really kind of have to bring all of that together to achieve whatever end goal we are ultimately working towards. And a lot of that is how, who, what, when, why are a lot of important questions that we have to ask ourselves every day. The more that you understand the different facets of the business and how our customers use our products and services, the greater delivery or the greater impact you're going to be able to deliver to our customers. You're going to create a long lasting business value to Granite, and you're also going to compound the interest that you put into yourself and your career as either an individual contributor or a leader if you want to transition into management roles and things like that. So we focus a lot on ownership and responsibility within your roles. If we have a problem, whether it's internally or maybe your customer is bringing you a problem, it's really our responsibility to drive that resolution to completion. And that is sometimes wearing many hats. Like I mentioned, you're working with multi-units within the business, and externally too, if you're doing customer-facing stuff. So to kind of bring into perspective what we do, I'm going to use USPS as an example, and I think Mike has some pictures too that we can chat about afterwards. But the product engineering side of USPS. When we won the USPS deal in June, July of last year, Mike mentioned the product that we sold them was not designed or engineered whatsoever. So we had a very limited period of time before we had to implement that at scale to figure all of that out. And actually designing and architecting that's typically what engineering does. So folks like Mike, Steve Herrick, Omkar Barv, everyone in engineering really put all of their brain power together to engineer the product that we had deployed, and it was a lot of hard work. But on the customer success side, our responsibility is to kind of help keep engineering on track, manage the day-to-day. It's a lot of just straight project management at that point. And that also plays into a lot of the other internal things that we're working on. So if we want to align with more of the project management side, also, sorry, I'm going to pivot back to product engineering.
Why?
You can think
Where
about
are you moving it to?
things. Epic, like I mentioned, Grid. Our team is currently working on an application that's going to eventually, over time, help automate. The goal is all of the turn-ups that we have to work towards for our customers, and there's a lot of DevOps works that goes into that. There's product engineering that goes into that, and we have roles open in kind of each of those fields to help support that. And then from there, we transition into project management. Some of the internal projects that we're working on, like I mentioned, data center build out. So Granite has multiple data centers across the nation, and our team, we have a core network engineering team, is responsible really for implementing that in any situation. So on the customer success side, we help manage those projects. We see their implementations from start to finish. And likewise on the large-scale customer complex projects. So for USPS, we had to not only design their product as it was, but we also had to stand up 2 individual data centers that they have in California and in Minnesota. So we got to travel to go install both of those data centers. Every time that we do a build out for our point of presence, so Granite's backbone, our team travels to go implement that at various locations. And then if we pivot back to project management as a whole, after we implemented the data centers for USPS and we had the product designed, we had to figure out how do we actually deploy this at scale. Granite committed to a very aggressive cutover schedule to give us a leg up in the industry. So USPS basically divvies their business out to multiple different telecommunications vendors, and they will take business away from certain vendors depending on performance. So we wanted to get as much of the business at once and doing it in a scalable manner where we're still able to support the customer. So we had to cut 1,000 sites over in under 30 days. What goes into that is a broadband circuit installation. We configure their router. We swap their existing router out with the new FlexEdge Fortinet, router that we had designed. And how do we had to do that 125 of those a day. And now obviously Granite doesn't have the resources to do 125 coordinated turnups for one customer a day. So we had to go through and build an application that Sitel is who we actually outsource the activations to, and the way that they are able to help walk the tech through step by step what needs to happen during the turnup is through an application, through a web UI that Mike and Steve created. So part of the customer success piece of that was setting up the framework that the engineers need to kind of do their piece and actually build it all together. And it was successful. I mean, we've been cutting sites over since probably October of last year, and I think at this point we have a little over 5,300 sites cut over, which is probably one of the fastest SD-WAN migrations that's happened in the industry to date. So that's something that the team is really proud of and that we worked very hard to achieve. And then some of the things that we're starting to think about now is how do we transition that to all of our customers, and not just for USPS, obviously. So those are a lot of the things that we're going to be working towards in the future. And what you need to be successful, I just want to hone in on the fact again that everything that we do is learnable. All of the high level conceptual subject matter stuff, we all started somewhere. So I started at Granite in service delivery PMO on the proof of concept team, and I had no idea the difference between like a WAN, your wide area network, the internet, and a LAN, your local area network. And it's just over time, the best way to figure all of that out is to actually fix something that's broken. And it's really just a game of learning along the way. But what you need to be successful is more of the hard and soft skills that you can take along with you. Technology now isn't where it was 5, 10, 20 years ago. The technology is always going to change. We're always going to have new subject matter to learn, but it's the skills that you have that are going to build the foundation of your success within the organization and that are going to, stand the test of time. And while the technology changes, those skills are always going to be carried in your little diverse toolbox for you.